Welcome back to Inside the Lines. Happy Friday. It is prop party time. A lot of props to go over today. But before we do that, a big college basketball slate today. And no better person to bring in than Jake here. Jake, I know we have a few parlays, a lot of money lines today. So let's start with your money line parlay here.
Yeah, so Rice is playing Harvard, and Harvard has historically been one of the better Ivy League teams. But last year they were bad, and then they lost their best player to St. John's as a transfer, Chris Ledlum. And Rice is actually pretty good. They did lose a player to the transfer portal, went to Xavier. But I like sticking with these money line parlays where you have like 8 point favorites that the model has winning by 15 points. We have Rice winning by 12, 13 points as 7.5 point favorites, so plenty of value there. And then St. Thomas is just a wagon at home. They were 11-1 at home last year. And Idaho State, I have it up right now. They were 4-13 on the road last year. So it's a team that was good at home versus a team that was terrible on the road. We have plenty of money line and spread value here by like just playing the two money lines together, minus 125.
Yeah, and your track record of doing so is pretty good, in my opinion. Let's move to Tennessee, going to Wisconsin. You like their money line here. I think the spread's pretty small here, right?
The spread's pretty small. It was Tennessee minus 1.5. It's moved to minus 2.5, so the money's coming in on Tennessee. I just think Tennessee's the better team. I think Wisconsin's good. They have plenty of experience. They're one of the most experienced teams in the country. I just think Tennessee is the more talented team. It does scare me that this game is at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's usually good at home, but they were just 11-8 at home last year. Tennessee their struggles were on the road. So yeah, Steven just said 80% of the public is on Tennessee against the spread. And I agree with the public here, which scares me. But I like Tennessee just because I think they're the more talented team. And they did win at Michigan State. It was an exhibition game, but still a hostile environment.
Yeah, let's move to another team we've had success with here early in the season. Charleston playing at Duquesne, or Duquesne's going there. 1 point favorites. We have it as a 5-point game. Do you think this Charleston team's being underrated right now, or do you think people understand how good they are?
I think a lot of people are high on Duquesne this year, which is interesting just because they had a pretty good transfer portal class. This game's actually a neutral site game. Might be in, I don't know where it is, but like Chicago or something, but it's a neutral site game. We have Charleston winning by 6 points here. So I just think Charleston's one of the more underrated mid-major teams. I think they're better than they were last year. They got a couple more D2 transfers who are pretty good. I think that they're a 5-point, 6-point better team. They were 30-4 last season. I just like this Charleston team, and I really like their coach, who I think is probably going to go to a high major team next year if he doesn't stay.
Maybe we can get some lines on that come later in the season. Let's go to a question here. Nick S asking about Texas A&M and the Detroit-Cincinnati over as well. Bring up the model here.
The model actually likes Ohio State in this game, but especially since I took Julius Marble out for Texas A&M because he's suspended indefinitely. There hasn't really been an update, so I'm assuming he's still out. But just like Ohio State at home, I think Texas A&M is the better team, but you never know what goes on the road in an early season in a hostile environment.
Is there an indicator of the Big Ten quality versus Big 12? Sometimes are they?
This is the SEC, Big Ten.
Oh, SEC. I mean, SEC. SEC's been so much better than the last few years than they were historically.
Yeah, well, Texas A&M won the SEC last year, the regular season title. But I just, like Nick says, it's hard to see them getting easy buckets. Texas A&M is a really good defensive team. I've been going back and forth on this. This is a more experience versus talent. I think that Texas A&M has the more experienced team, but I think Ohio State's more talented overall. Like Scotty Middleton, freshman, is pretty talented. Thornton's pretty good. I just think that Texas A&M has the experience, and I lean there. I probably just stay off altogether. I want to have a play on this game. I don't want to force anything.
Mm-hmm. Let's move to one more question while we have the model up. Any value on Gonzaga team total? You can find that for us.
At home. So yeah, it's sometimes hard. I had to Fine. Who are they playing?
It's their home. It's their first game of the season.
They're playing Yale, 12-point favorites.
Yeah. I know we have spread value on Gonzaga, which scares me because I think Yale's going to be really good this year. I know it's -12. We have Gonzaga -19 in the Sims. So I'm assuming we do have team total value on Gonzaga. But Steel Ventures, they announced it's out for the season. I did play Nemhard over 3.5 assists in this game. So I like that play. I think could be a little high scoring game.
They lost a lot of players.
They lost a lot.
Timmy should have stayed for another NIL year, right?
Timmy.
Yeah. I think he's going to make plenty of money in Europe, but I just don't think he's going to. Yeah, I think he should have stayed.
All right. We'll continue to ask your questions about college basketball in the chat. Steven, while I have you, let's move over to some NBA here. Two player props tonight for Detroit. 9-point dogs going to Philly. Let's start with Cade Cunningham here.
Yeah, so if you look at Detroit's depth chart, you'll see an injury report. You see the word out next to almost everybody outside the starting five. And so there's no depth on Detroit right now available, especially offensively. The only position that's clean is center, and not a lot of offense from their centers. Cade Cunningham, small sample size because he missed most of last year, but the over is 7-2 at home with an over 38 average. It's 6-3 overall this year. Monoline's at 38.5, which is right around where he's averaging. He has shown an improved 3-point touch, so that I like that. And I think that Philly might be take him a little bit easy. And the good thing is, even if Philly goes out big, I do think that Monty Williams, in an effort to kind of change the culture and will keep his guys in there to play some winning ball. So even if they're down by 10 at the half, 15 at the half, they'll want to win the second half. The other player I really like here is Oscar Thompson, the second twin drafted. He's a statistical beast. I mean, he's averaging nearly 10 rebounds. He's been scoring 15, 16 points consistently the last few games, and he averages almost 4 assists a game. Again, his only poor stat is 3-point percentage, but that's because he missed 14 in a row over a 4 or 5 game stretch. He's actually hit 3 of his last 8. So not that he's going to light it up, but he's someone that can just fill the stat sheet. I should probably look at points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals, and pretty much everything because he loads it up.
Yeah. Yeah, Nick's saying the same thing in the chat. All right, good stuff there. Again, any more NBA questions, we'll hit them in the chat. Let's move back to college sports again. Let's go to some college football player props here. Now, I call it the deep cuts because sometimes we have some random niche players on here, but we're starting with Drake May here, which is a little more of a Hollywood prop for you, Jake.
I know. I usually dig down deeper, but Drake May, we have projected for around 350 yards. This is, I think, 99% chance, probably 99.9% chance that this is his last game at home. Because he's not a senior, but he might as well be a senior because he's draft eligible. And he's going against a rival Duke team. So I think he has a pretty good game to close out his UNC career at home.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move over to South Carolina here, over to the SEC. Was it Leggett?
Xavier Leggett, yeah.
What do we have here?
We have Leggett. So right now we have him at 70.5. I just updated it with Antoine Wells and DK Joyner out. And we have Leggett at around 90 yards now in the model. He just has an insane target share for South Carolina. Mm-hmm. They're going up against, who are they playing in South Carolina? I know it's one of the weaker defensive teams in the SEC. They're going against Vandy. So, yeah, I love going against Vandy's pass defense. They're pretty rough this season. Just with his target share, I just love this play. He had 217 receiving yards last week against Jacksonville State. And Jacksonville State was known for their defense this season, even though they're not a Power 5 team, they're a Group of 5 team. Casey Washington, Illinois, under 36.5 receiving yards. Illinois just loves running the ball, and when they throw, they usually throw to Isaiah Washington or Isaiah Williams or Pat, the other receiver I'm blanking on right now. But Casey Washington is their third receiver, and they love running the ball. We have him at 22 yards. His prop line, Pat Bryant, thanks, Steven. I'm just blanking on names today. so many names between college basketball, college football.
I
NBA.
know our worlds are colliding. This is getting a lot.
Everything's colliding, so everything's confusing. But he's going to have to get at least 3 receptions to hit this.
The boss
over.
isn't happy with our complaints.
Yeah. So we have 2 receptions, 22 yards. I like the under here.
Okay. Good stuff there. We'll move over to Arizona, who is playing Colorado. Colorado 10-point dogs, which is so odd to think of at this point in the season. Who would have thought?
Especially after 2 weeks in the season, if you said that Colorado was 10-point underdogs against Arizona, who I think hasn't won 6 games in so long before the season. And Arizona's ranked in that, was pretty crazy. They've done an incredible job. No Fafita, their backup quarterback, is now their starter's been great. Jacob Cowing has been a little overshadowed by McMillan this year. And I think this is a breakout game for him against a bad Colorado defense. Travis Hunter, yes, he's a stud. He will probably be covering McMillan for most of the game. And he gets tired because he plays it pretty much every single snap. So I like Jacob Cowing to have a breakout game again this week.
Yeah. And let's move to Florida. Jordan Travis hosting Miami. Anytime touchdown here. Now, in general, when we're looking at a Heisman candidate, do you think this is a game where, regardless if they're blowing them out, he just keeps pounding?
Yeah, it's the rivalry game, and I think he could even hit this early. He has 7 rushing touchdowns this season. He has a rush touchdown in over 50% of his games, and he's going against a Miami defense that hasn't been that great this season. Getting plus value on this is really where it's at. We have him recording a rushing touchdown in about 70% of sims, and he did have a receiving touchdown last year. So it wasn't against Miami, but maybe they break out a trick play against their rivals at home and try to get Jordan Travis the Heisman moment. So I like this at plus money right here.
Okay. Let's move to UCF hosting Oklahoma State, 2.5-point dogs at home.
Yeah, so we have RJ Harvey with over 20 receiving yards, and we have a ton of value on the under in the model. So that makes me think if this game does go how Vegas expects, we have 50 points compared to Vegas at 65.5 right now. If this game does go how Vegas expects it to go, he probably hits the over pretty easily. At every single home game he's caught a pass, he's gone over 15.5 yards. 2 of those were at 16 yards. So it could be a little sweaty, but I really like this play.
Okay. And one more game here in the SEC, Auburn going to Arkansas. Do you see Auburn's defense giving KJ Jefferson a hard time?
Yeah, KJ Jefferson has 8 picks this year. Auburn's defense has an interception all but 1 game. They have 11 interceptions, which I think is 13th in the country. So even though Auburn hasn't been that great, their defense has been pretty good. KJ Jefferson could have had at least 2 or 3 interceptions in the game I watched last week against Florida. What he did well was run the ball. He's still not like accurate, even though he's a 5th-year senior. So he struggled. We have him, I think, projected for well over 1 interception, for like 1.2 interceptions in our model. I just like this matchup against a good Auburn defense, and the spread is -2.5 in favor of Arkansas. So it's projected to be a close game according to Vegas. So I like this.
Right. And our model seems to have it as a close game too, a 3-point game. All right. Good stuff there. We do have a recap at the end of this, so you can catch them at the end. Let's move on to the NFL here. 4 player props we like, starting with ETN. They're hosting the Niners, and they are 3-point dogs.
Yeah, I like this. And Jake, you can definitely let me know how you feel. But the line's going up. It was a 20.5. You could get 20.5 just last night, and it's up to a minimum of 22.5. The 22.5 is reflective of his career average, and not the 33 that he's up to this season. He's the over 6-2, 4 straight, the last 4. Models right around 32, which seems more appropriate on 3.5 receptions. San Francisco defense, they boosted up their pass rush with Chase Young. Hopefully it leads to some quick little screen passes and dump offs. Actually, ETN lines up as an outside wide receiver one time for a really nice
he
catch.
lines up in the slot plenty.
So I think that they're going to use him as they should, as he did. He's increasingly becoming the ATN of Clemson.
But he's not great. He's not great running it up the middle. What he's good is getting to the sideline, and I think they're going to want to get him in space to run the ball against that scary.
Maybe interesting bet is who gets more receiving yards, him or McCaffrey. if you can get like plus 200 on ATN to get more than
I know
that.
Prize Picks a lot of times offer combo receiving yards, so maybe you want to go ETN and McCaffrey over receiving yards combo if they have that.
Yeah, cool.
I see Nick
You go do
talking.
that.
Yeah, talking about the Ravens game in the chat. We're moving from Gus Edwards to Keaton Mitchell, over 20.5 rush yards. Is this line an under exaggeration to his new role here now? Does he have a new role?
I think he's not going to have the same role last week when he had 137 yards probably, but
Right.
We're projecting right around 25% of his of the team's rushing yard production, which is kind of makes sense. You got Gus maybe with 40, Lamar 25, Keaton Mitchell 25. But what I'm expecting is the Justice Hill to get bumped down. Anyone who's really locked into the Ravens like I am knows that the one thing that we've done poorly this year was the RPO handoff, the mesh point between Lamar and Justice Hill. And Lamar's had a tough time hiding his frustration because it's Justice Hill's issue. The excitement this past weekend, if you saw the clips from Lamar, the way he was going crazy with Keaton Mitchell and everything that he was doing, it was clear that he's like, I have an explosive back that I actually don't have that same handoff problem with. And that's what I saw out of it. But Mitchell is just awesome. I mean, he was awesome between the tackles, which no one didn't realize that he could do because everyone knew he was speed as a burner. And the Cleveland run defense is great, but they're not that great on the road. They've been allowing 36 more yards and almost right around 1 more yard per carry. Mitchell's also a big difference maker. If you look at East Carolina's offense, they lost a lot of players, Jake was telling me, but Mitchell obviously is a big part of it. And they were a great 164 rushing yards, 5.1 as a team last year with Mitchell. This year without him, it's 106 and 3.4 yards per carry. So I think Keaton Mitchell's a real unique talent that everyone in Baltimore was in love with during the preseason. We were all freaked out that we would put him on the practice squad and he'd get picked up by someone else. And so that's why he was actually kept on the active roster despite his injury, which is, that was before J.K. Dobbins went out. So this is how good we thought he would be, that we would use a spot on him to make sure that no one else could grab him. Let's see. The next was Heineke, Taylor Heineke.
Let's move.
Again, his numbers moved up to 16.5. I mean, he had 268 last week. He had 175 the previous week, but that was in a half when he came off the bench versus Tennessee. Atlanta, and I don't know why, is a much worse rushing team this year. Despite adding Bijan, they went from 160 yards rushing a game to 124 this year. Arizona is allowing 244 passing yards, which is fairly high, but it would be a lot higher if Arizona was a better team, right? They're facing a lot of situations where the opposing team didn't have to pass much, in second halves. Arizona is allowing 7.8 yards per attempt, which is right in line with what the Chargers allow, and they're the worst pass defense in terms of yards allowed total per game. Atlanta's not good enough to blow out anyone. Arizona has Kyler Murray back, so I think it's going to be a close enough game that there's going to have to be, you can't just hand it off late. So I'm banking on this being a Heineke going over pretty easily.
Right.
And
before we move to your last prop, good question from Big Cheesy. Heineke or Purdy fantasy stream quarterback this week?
We're always going to, as long as Trent Williams, I know, is kind of in practice, but it seems like he's trending poorly. I'm looking at my database now for this week. And statistically, the Jags don't have a great pass defense. So I think I have Purdy ranked. I have Purdy at 10th. The experts have him 10th. Heineke, I have 9th. So there you go. And the experts only have him 19th. So I think the Jags defense is better than the statistics would indicate.
Well,
So,
I mean, Tyson Campbell has been hurt. I think the Jags have been down a lot of cornerbacks lately. Cisco was out. Campbell's been out. I know they've both been practicing, but they've been limited in practice. So I think that I assume one of them doesn't play. And so it's been amazing that they've won 5 games.
It's really Trent Williams, right, that will probably make the biggest difference. Because, when Purdy put up huge numbers last year when Debo was out, because he had time and he just targeted, George Kittle over and over again. So it's not – I don't think it's the Debo comeback that will help Purdy. He needs his left tackle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, someone else saying the Jags are getting tested this week. So we'll see. I mean, I guess not too much discrepancy between them. Let's move to our last player prop here. Breece Hall over 18.5 receiving yards.
This is just me expecting the gambling gods, who I show tons of respect to actually bless me and not punish me 2 straight weeks. Last week we had over 16.5 receiving yards. It was bet up to 20.5. He had the number, and then it was a kind of a bogus call that called back what would have been an easy over. He had 4 catches for only 10 yards last week. The last 4 running backs that went against Vegas all went over this number pretty easily. Saquon, Jahmyr Gibbs, Dante Foreman, and Ramondre Stevenson. So it's not exactly, Saquon and Gibbs, yes, you would expect them to have plenty of receiving yards, but not Dante Foreman, Ramondre Stevenson necessarily. And Ramondre too. But either way, there's a nice little streak of opposing starting running backs getting 25 plus. And I think 18.5 is going to go up, going to get bet up again.
All right, a little act now moment. Nothing we love more than running back receiving yards and quarterback rushing yards. So hopefully this works out for us again. All right, let's get to that recap quick. Take a screenshot, take a picture, play it back, do what you need to do. Lots on the board today. Feeling good about a lot of these. Again, last night, almost 3 for 3. That was just frustrating with Mingo. 6 targets. It was the right play. Sometimes you lose a bet and it was the right play and you can't regret it. But we almost cashed a Sportsline TikTok parlay, but I digress. All right, that's all we have time for today. Tune in Sunday night. We are going to go over some look ahead and opening lines. Big value there. We'll show you where we think lines are moving, where you need to act now on. So super important. But with that, good luck with your bets this weekend, and we will see you Sunday.
Thank you.